Will Pragmata run on handheld? That's what we're going to be testing today. We're going to be testing it on the OG Ally just here, the Z1 Extreme variant. We're going to be testing it on the Xbox Ally, the Xbox Ally X, and of course the Lenovo Legion Go 2. But I do want to quickly say these two are running Windows 11 with Xbox mode, and these two are running SteamOS. And I know I'm not going to be testing the Ally X because in my opinion it's pretty much exactly the same as the Xbox Ally X, just a little bit lower in performance because we've got the Z2 Extreme here and the Z1 Extreme here, but pretty much everything else is the same specifications. So if you're wondering about this one, you know, it's basically the same as that one.
Right, it's time for me to pay the 128 KB bills with today's totally impartial video sponsor, and that's TOBENONE. And we're lucky enough to introduce to you the TOBENONE 20-in-1 docking station. And yes, look, I've got to be a little bit upfront with you here. It's confession time. Both me and Andy have fully converted to the dark side. Yeah, we're both using MacBooks now, I'm sorry. So promoting this is actually just a little bit selfish, but whether you're on Mac or Windows, the problem is exactly the same with laptops. Modern laptops, despite being really cool and incredibly powerful, have absolutely zero ports, especially MacBooks. They really suck for this. So if you want to connect a monitor, a capture card, hard drive, a Ethernet, whatever it is, your desk is instantly turned into an absolute nightmare of cables and cheap dongles. But this one device from TOBENONE looks to solve that entirely with one thing. This thing can drive 3 4K monitors at 60 Hz, all from a single cable. It all handles massive power delivery to keep your MacBook fast charged, and it's packed with high-speed USB ports, SD card readers, and Gigabit Ethernet for a rock-solid connection whilst downloading massive games or files. We're talking 3 HDMI ports, 2 display ports, USB-C 3.2, Thunderbolt 5, power delivery protocol at 45 watts, pretty much everything you could ever want. You literally just plug in a single cable when you sit down and your entire studio wakes up. It is madness. Oh, and of course, it does work with PC and with Apple, Linux, Windows, Android operating system, everything else too. It's all there. So if you want the ultimate workstation upgrade to eliminate cable clutter, then this is it. Hit the link in the description to check out the TOBENONE, and by doing so, you'll be directly supporting the channel. And of course, massive thanks to TOBENONE for sponsoring this video.
Alrighty, so let's start with the Xbox Ally just here. I am plugged in and I'm going to be running at 20 watts. I've got 6 GB of VRAM on this one and CPU boost off. And I have already changed the settings to everything on low. So let's just go through that quickly. We are at the like little spacey hub bit. This is like the hub area, and then you go on like missions from here. And this area is quite demanding. So all on low, straight away I'm seeing that we're at like almost 50 FPS. And there's no upscaling going on. This is native 720p resolution, which is really impressive. I was thinking we're gonna have to start from the base area and then build ourselves up, right? And yeah, apparently not. So you can see here, it's not in display that you change stuff. It's actually in graphics. So I've got 720p just here. I can't actually change it. You can't change most of these settings in the game. You have to go to the main menu. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, whatever. We can go back and forth, that's fine. Upscaling off, image resolution, like the image quality, like at 100%. So it is actually 720p. I've got dynamic resolution scaling off. I've got frame gen off, of course. And then let's just quickly go through everything. I've got low on everything. So basically everything's as low as possible or off. I've kept shadow cache on because you want that, right? And then everything else is just either off or just absolutely off, like, or low. Do you know what I mean? Like everything's off. And even then, we're getting around 50 FPS here, and it looks really good. And I have to say, and on the other devices that we'll be testing, if you can get away with not using upscaling in this game, it looks a hell of a lot better. It really does. I know the number's going to make you go, oh yeah, but Andy, it's not saying 60 FPS. Like, you know, it's not 3 million FPS. Honestly, the image reduction in quality and clarity is so bad when you're using upscaling technology. It's just not worth it. Like 50 FPS here, even 40 FPS on this is absolutely fine. It really is. And I'm just going to show you quickly here, while we're still here, just what I'm talking about. So do you see this screen here that I'm staring at there? Look how nice it is. Do you see when I move around? I can clearly see that transparency effect. There's no dodginess going on. Like everything looks really clear. And I'm really surprised by how good this runs at native 720p, no upscaling, right? But again, look at these transparent, like holographic images. They look very good, don't they? Despite the fact that everything is all on low on this, which is crazy, right? Let's now turn upscaling on. And I'm not enabling frame generation just yet, but it is there. So let's just back out of here, right? Straight away, look at those screens. Do you see how flickery they are? They look horrible. Like, it's actually really not pleasant at all. Obviously, the resolution is dropped right down. And look at the frame rate. We're getting like 55 FPS, whereas before we're in the high 40s to 50. So the frame rate hasn't even really increased enough for it to warrant the degradation in image quality. Look at that holographic image there. It looks awful. It's flickering, it's crackly and fizzy. The resolution is really low because we're no longer at 720p. We're on performance mode, so we're like half of 720p, right? Which is crazy. So we're like, what, 360p right now? And for what, like 5 FPS? Cool. Like, it now looks rubbish. Let's just make it look even worse by enabling frame gen. And what frame gen does as well is introduces a crap load of latency. So let's just put frame gen on. Yeah, FSR3 frame gen, that's cool. And let's go back. And now look at those holographic images again. They look even worse. They're now smudgy and horrible as well as flickery. So the resolution's really bad. But hey, we're getting 70 to 80 FPS, which is cool. But now the controls feel more clunky because of that latency introduced. See how stuff's like flickering? Look at that triangle. It's like flickering, jittering. Everything's a little bit like, meh. Like, it's just not very nice looking. Whereas, let's just go ahead, keep everything the same, and turn off all of the upscaling. So you don't always have to rely on upscaling. It's not always the answer. So let's just turn that off. That should turn frame gen off as well. And let's go back. Bam! Look how crystal clear that is. 720p native. This is raster performance, right? Rasterization. And it's so much better. Look at these holographic images. They're no longer flickering. They're no longer stuttering. Like, that triangle is no longer like going nuts, like in the corner. It does blink, like, you know, it blinks anyway. That's like meant to be in the game, right? That is a blinking feature. But with frame gen on and upscaling, it just looked terrible. Like, it really looked bad. The whole game now looks way better because we're actually at 100% 720p resolution and 40 to 50 FPS, honestly, with a VRR screen, which is why we bang on all the time here about why VRR is really important. It is smooth. If I turned that frame rate monitor off now, I would have the best time playing this game. It's not all about chasing numbers. I get that. I'm a PC gamer as well, right? So I love chasing numbers and being all about the FPS on dedicated, like, discrete GPU devices, right? On a proper PC, let's squeeze out as much performance as possible. It's got to be like, you know, 100 FPS or whatever. That's cool. But this is the lowest powered handheld on the market, bar the Steam Deck right now. And we're getting like 40 to 50 FPS, raster performance, no upscaling, 720p native, and it looks really good. It's totally playable on this. I'm just going to jump into the next zone, right? Like into the game, rather than just in the like hub area, just so that you can see what kind of performance we're going to get now in here. I'm not even going to bother changing the graphics settings because this is totally playable to me and it still looks really good. Like, it still looks really good. The benefit of Pragmata here is the game is just beautiful. Like, I love Capcom. This is one of my most hyped games in ages, bar Resi 9, right? And it just looks great. Sci-fi aesthetic, real like bright white and greys and oranges and stuff, you know, like, it just makes it look good anyway, right? I'm going to die now. Just watch. Oh, no, I did it. Did I collect the thing? Yes, I did collect the thing. Oh, yeah, there we go. Right. And we're still at like 40 FPS, which again, with that VRR screen, is fine because we do have LFC. Granted, the VRR window is 48 to 120 on this, but it does have low frame rate compensation below that so that it still feels completely smooth. There's no screen tearing despite the fluctuations there. I saw a dip to 39 and we're in the sort of low 40s area. But again, you need to take into consideration this is an Xbox Ally. This is not a Z1 Extreme device and not a Z2 Extreme device. This is a Z2A. And yeah, this is performing absolutely excellently. Now let's just go into a bit of combat. Whoop! There we go. Oh, wow. Already Okay. Ah! There you go. So you saw in combat, we're still at the sort of 40 FPS mark, and this game is totally playable like this. I would say it's not really worth tinkering. Just play it at 20 watts, which you can do on battery if you create a custom profile, which I've shown in many other videos on the channel, or just plug it in like I am now. 40 FPS, sometimes dips to sort of high 30s, but it is more than playable, everything on low. Don't even bother with frame gen or upscaling, because honestly, it looks better at all low and raster performance at 720p than it does being upscaled. But anyway, that's far too much time on this device. Let's move over to the other one. Now we're on to the OG Ally just here. This is running SteamOS 3.7. I've got 8 gigabytes of VRAM set just here. I am maxed out at 30 watts TDP. Down here, if I go to the TDP limit, so 30 watts, we're plugged in, and let's just go through and see what's going to go on with this one, right? So I have already kept the same settings as the Xbox Ally, right? And there is method to my madness here, because I'm just going to show you some stuff if you haven't watched that section, right? So I'm going to stay at 1080p. You'll see, though, that I've got no upscaling on. We're going to go through the upscaling and the frame gen, but there's a reason why I've got it off, and we're going to mess with the resolution manually as well. But I've got image quality at 100. Everything else is just completely off. This is like as low as possible, bar shadow cache is turned on, right? Everything else is just off. You can go from there. This is just simply showing you that the game can run and how well it can run at the resolutions and stuff. I'm just going to keep it on low, and it's just showing you that, yes, this game can absolutely run. But I am going to show you some stuff to do with the upscaling, and why I actually recommend that you do not use upscaling or frame gen on this game. Right now, this is raster performance, right? This is 1080p native at 100% resolution scale, right? And we're getting 50 FPS, nearly, around 50 FPS, high 40s to 50. Remember that this screen has the same screen as the Xbox Ally and also the Xbox Ally X. So we have VRR window from 48 to 120 Hertz refresh rate, right? Which is also used in SteamOS. It supports that. We do have VRR as well enabled, right? And under 48 Hertz, we've got low frame rate compensation. So we will still basically get VRR underneath, that window. So even if it drops below 48, then we're still covered. We won't get screen tearing or anything like that. But look how crisp and sharp this image is at 1080p native, and we're getting like 50 FPS. Now, if you haven't seen the Xbox Ally section, I'm going to just explain this to you. Look at that holographic image just there, this like TV like icon thing above this computer, right? Look how sharp that is, how good it is, how the image does not break up whatsoever once I walk around it, especially if I run, right? All of these holographic images just look fantastic. And remember, this is 1080p native. I'm going to keep saying it because we're getting like 50 FPS without any upscaling. I know we're on lowest of low, but everything is super sharp, super clear, very, very nice. And obviously we don't have any of that frame gen latency or anything like that. Like everything just feels super responsive. So we're like 50 FPS native. This is just in the sort of center hub. I will go out into the like main game soon, but this area is actually quite demanding, right? So instead of messing with the graphics settings, I'm going to just mess with the upscaling, right? So I'm going to put upscaling to FSR3 performance, and go, yeah, that's fine. Now look at that holograph. Like it's flickering a little bit less clear, but not too bad, if I'm perfectly honest, because we're at 1080p. So FSR3 performance is basically 50% upscale, right? So we're at like, what's that, 540p or whatever it is? Yeah, 540p, I can math, right? So it's not too bad. And honestly, this is totally playable. We're like 70 FPS now, high 60s, 65, right, to 70 FPS. This is totally playable. But if I put frame gen on, we can get some more frame rate, but it is going to make everything look a little bit worse. So I'm going to go frame generation and go to on, and then come back. Now look at those holographs again, bit softer and a bit we're at like 100 FPS nearly, 98 FPS, 95 FPS, 90 FPS. It's not too bad, but the input latency is definitely heavy, right? That's why I don't like frame gen. I will rather not use it if I can get around it unless I absolutely have to. But this is still totally playable, and if you're really a numbers person, oh look, I can hit pretty much 100 FPS on this device at 1080p, upscaled with some frame gen on. It's not too bad, it really isn't. But if I go back in here, right, and let's just mess with some stuff. So let's go down and turn off that and turn off frame generation. Let's drop the resolution all the way down to 720p, right? Let's just do that. Remember, there's no upscaling. This is just 720p. Look how sharp that is still, right? And we're getting like 70 odd FPS. That is crazy. Like 70 FPS, really, really good. Super sharp because it's not being upscaled, right? No upscaling. Those like holographs just there are still really, really clear. No breakup, no fizzling, no stuttering. Everything's super clear. And now we're getting like 70 to 80 FPS. If we run over here, 80 odd, right? Really, really good. Let's just do the same test again by throwing on the upscaling. So let's go FSR3 again, FSR3 performance. Now, obviously, this is now 50% of 720p. So we're at like 360p. Look at those holographs. Look, they're like stuttering, fizzy. Everything just looks pretty bad. But, you know, we're at like almost 100 FPS, you know, 90 FPS around that. But it just doesn't look so good. The image is no longer sharp. It just looks a bit rubbish. And again, if you throw into the mix some frame gen, it all comes down to your own personal preference. Do you care about a horrible muddy image with some latency on the controls just for the sake of having high FPS? If that's your thing, then cool, you can do it. Look, I've maxed out the panel now. We're at like 120 FPS. But man, it feels slow, clunky, and the image quality is hideous. In the background there, everything's sort of fizzling and crackling, and the holographs now look really bad. Like, I just would not play like this myself personally. But yeah, if you take all that off again, just to show you, let's turn off any upscaling and turn off the frame gen. Boom. Look at the image quality. The clarity is so much sharper. Nothing's fizzling or popping around. Those holographs are like amazingly clear. And we're still at like 70, 80 FPS. And remember, you can be at 1080p native and be getting around the 50 FPS mark, which is crazy. But I think 720p is more than playable on this. Let's just move to this next section where we're like actually in the game, right? So now we're actually in the game and we're still holding above 70 FPS here. 69, 65, that's still fine. Like I said, I think it's more than playable and it's super sharp, super clear, looks really, really good. Let's just see if I can make it past these. Oh, no, I didn't. I jumped too early and didn't hover, but that's fine. Man, I'm not very good, am I? There we go. So I'm going to jump down here. I know there's combat down here. So we're at the like 60 to 70 mark. We're up to the high 70s just here. Cool. So now we're in the combat. So I'll let you look at the FPS counter up there. I would assume it's still in the 70 mark. Oh, there's Big Boy. Let's shoot him. And again. Woo. There we go. And we're still at the high 60s there into the 70s. It just looks great. And this is no upscaling. That's the thing. Like, upscaling is not the be all and end all. I think just dropping the resolution down and keeping it native raster performance, even though we're all on low settings, it still looks really good. The image clarity is so good. This kind of game like just looks great regardless, right, of the graphics settings. Everything doesn't need to be on high. This is all low. And it looks great, and we're getting like 70 FPS, 60 to 70 FPS, which is more than playable, 720p. But again, if you want even more clarity, you can bump it up to 1080p, or you could keep it down at 720p here, boost some of those graphic settings, maybe increase the texture resolution and stuff like that, because you probably have the VRAM to push that, since the VRAM usage here is only like 4.5 gig, right? And I've got 8 gig set, so I would be able to increase the texture quality and stuff like that without much of a performance hit, if any, right? So you can fiddle around and do that yourself, but I'm just showing you that it can absolutely be played on the OG Ally. This device is nowhere near end of life for these kind of games yet. And we don't even need to rely on upscaling or frame generation. Anyway, that's enough of this one. Let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, now we are on to the Xbox Ally. We're moving up to the big guns with the Z2 Extremes. I am running 10 gigabytes of VRAM on this. I am plugged in, so I'm utilizing the 35 watt mode, so I'm like maxed out, right? No CPU boost on because we don't need it in this game. And we're just going to go from here. So can you see I'm at like 55 FPS just here? 59, around the 60 mark, but let's just say sort of mid 50s, right? I've already messed with the settings. This is raster 1080p performance. This is full 100% 1080p, zero upscaling whatsoever, which is absolutely insane, right? And there's a reason I'm doing this, and I'll show you in a second. Graphics are everything on low. Everything's absolutely dropped down as low as possible, other than shadow cache is on, obviously, but everything else is just off. And now you might be thinking, oh, it's going to look rubbish. It really doesn't. It looks great. And that's because we've not used upscaling, because obviously upscaling drops the resolution right down to bring it up, and it causes some issues which we'll look into. So right now, look how good that holograph is, right? The holograph is just amazing. Same with this one, no fizzling, crackling, high resolution, everything's really stable, including all the background assets just there. When I run around, everything is just so stable and clear, and it just looks brilliant. And we're still in that sort of 55 FPS mark, right? If I drop it down to, let's just say 720p, well, no, let's keep it at 1080p and let's upscale, right? So let's put it on FSR3 performance, just give it a second. There we go. So we're now on FSR3 performance. Yes, we are now at 90 FPS. Okay, 80. Okay, around the 80 mark. Okay, so 78 FPS. And to be perfectly honest, it still looks good. It's just now the clarity has definitely dropped down because we're no longer at 1080p. We're at 540p because we're on FSR3 performance, which is a 50% resolution drop, right? And look at that holograph. To be honest, it still looks quite good. It's not that bad, because we are upscaling to 1080p. So it's not that bad. So you can definitely get an FPS boost just with FSR3 and performance mode, right? And you will get that FPS boost. Let's just turn on frame gen just to show you, because I know many of you use it, even though I personally do not. Frame gen, let's just give it a second. It's now on FSR3 frame gen, and here we go. So let's just give it a second to catch up. We're now breaking 100 FPS. We're at 115, 110, something like that. But it's clunky. There's some sort of jitters going on every now and again. And look at like that glass panel just there. Can you see that? I mean, that's actually tearing now and again, even though I'm within the VRR window. So I'm getting screen tearing there. It's really clunky. The holograph now doesn't look anywhere near as clear. It just doesn't look too good. So yeah, but if you really want to play the numbers game, then cool, like do that. I would much prefer to play at native 1080p raster, right, without any upscaling at all. And if you want to actually get the best image clarity, turn off frame gen, turn off upscaling entirely. We're now back to 1080p, right? No screen tearing whatsoever. Everything is super clear. Those holographs look way nicer. The input latency is gone because I turned off frame gen, right? And granted, yes, we're at like 55 FPS, but this has a panel that goes up to 120 hertz, but the VRR window is between 48 and 120, and even below 48 like hertz is low frame rate compensation anyway. So you're still going to get a smooth experience, which is really cool. But if you wanted more FPS, let's just drop it down to 720p. So let's go down to graphics and go all the way down to 720p and go, yep, let's do that. But this is still native, remember, native 720p, no upscaling whatsoever, and we're at 90 FPS, like 88, okay, but let's just say it's around 90 FPS. Holograph is still amazingly clear because there's no upscaling going on. It's not trying to fight all these transparency effects and everything. Like everything looks super clear. This honestly looks like 1080p to me. Like if you use 1080p upscaling and then went to 720p no upscaling, this is a sharper, more clear, more stable image, and you're still getting like 90 FPS with really good input latency because we've got no upscaling or frame gen. Let's just go and put upscaling on just to show you again, right? I'm not even going to bother with frame gen. I'm just going to put upscaling on. So FSR3 performance, let's back out, right? And now look at those holographs. Do you see them flickering and they're all jittery? All the assets in the background are all like jittery and stuff when I'm running around. It just doesn't look too great. Yeah, okay, we're at like 100 FPS. That's cool. But the whole image now is super soft because we're at like 360p. Like really, that's the native resolution and it's getting upscaled to 720p. So for me, I would just turn this off, run the game at 720p and be done with it without any upscaling. It's not the be all and end all. Some games just look better, you know, at native resolution. So now we're actually into the game. This is where you're going to be playing and we're at like 85 FPS. Woo, which is really, really good. So, okay, high 70s just here, but still totally playable. This is 720p raster, remember? And we're going to go down into some combat, super clear image, super stable. If I turned that FPS counter off, I wouldn't have a clue what frame rate I'm playing at, and I wouldn't need to know because it's just so smooth. Like, it's really, really good. Let's just kill some dudes. Boom, there we go. We're going to get a big guy drop down. There he is. And let's just see if I can just kill this guy quickly. And the frame rate is still at like 80 FPS. Whoa. So we're between the sort of 70 and 80 FPS mark, and it's super fun to play this game. I really enjoy this game. But like I said, I don't think you need to be upscaling or anything like that. And even on everything all low, look how clear and crisp and how detailed everything is. And that's just purely because the resolution is so high because we're not using any upscaling. The game still looks great. This is the kind of game that lends itself to even all low settings anyway, because it's just such a beautiful looking game. And Resident Evil, what am I talking about? Capcom with the engine, the Reach for the Moon engine, they just know how to make games like super well optimized. I think this is a good starting point for you. If you want to up the image quality and everything, you absolutely can. You can go into the settings, boost the textures up because you've got enough VRAM to do so, right? And you can play around yourself to sort of see what frame rate and what image clarity you want. But I think it's totally playable at like 90 FPS, 75 to 90 FPS at 720p raster, right? On all low, and everything still looks really good. But there we have it. Let's move over to our final device. So now we're on to the Lenovo Legion Go 2 just here. This has 16 gigabytes of VRAM dedicated to it. We are on SteamOS as well. I'm in custom. Of course, I have VRR enabled here, but I'm running this at 35 watts. So this is absolutely maxed out. And check how good this looks on here. Like, compared to everything else that we've just played it on. Yes, this has HDR enabled because this is an HDR display. It might not even show up on the camera too well because I'm not filming in HDR. I'm just filming in SDR, right? But wow, this looks incredible, like as you would imagine from this panel. And we're getting around the sort of 60 FPS mark. Sometimes it goes up to like 70 odd, but I'd say we're at around 60 FPS just here. And this is raster performance at 1200p. This is the native resolution for this device, right? And we're getting at the like high 60s, the mid 60s mark. Raster performance, no upscaling whatsoever. And look how good it looks. Look how good these holograms look. The holographs, I don't know what this is called. Hologram, that's it. I've probably been saying it wrong this whole video, but whatever, right? It looks super good, super stable because there's no upscaling going on. Everything looks really detailed and good, but I'm going to tell you, this is everything on low. Everything's absolutely on the lowest of the low. And let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So let's go to graphics. We're at 1200p, so that's native resolution. We're at 100% image quality, so there's no upscaling at all. And there's no upscaling like FSR, there's no frame gen, there's no dynamic resolution. Everything is off, and everything is absolutely as low as it can go other than shadow cache is on. And there is a reason for that, because obviously I want to show you how this is running at like a base level, and then you can apply your own. I will show you some of the settings I would use myself later, but I just want to show you the difference between upscaling and raster, so like native performance, because there is a big difference, and I don't think we need to be utilizing upscaling in this game at all whatsoever. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I will go to the next section of the game in a minute, but I'm here for a reason because I want to show you these holograms, right? So look at that. Just looks really good. Super high resolution, super stable, super clear. The background assets are all nice and stable. There's no flickering going on. There's no like jitters or anything like that. Everything's nice and stable, and we're getting like a like 70 FPS, which is absolutely mental. Remember, I am in SteamOS as well, so it is going to get more performance. And of course, I've noticed something on Windows versions of the Legion Go. When I'm on Windows, the GPU utilization never seems to hit 100%, whereas on SteamOS, it actually lets the GPU max out at 100%, so we're getting full performance there. We want that. We want the GPU to be the bottleneck so that we're getting the most performance possible from the device, right? And that is what we're getting here. So this looks absolutely incredible. I think it looks brilliant. No upscaling. Now let's just drop down the resolution to, let's just go all the way. Let's just go the equivalent of 720p. So I'm going to go 1280 by 800, right? And let's just go, yes, everything's the same. No upscaling, nothing. And we're at like 100 FPS, 96 FPS. Like this is totally playable. And because we're not using upscaling, it's still super crystal clear. Everything's super sharp. Those holograms there are like really, really good, super stable. The transparency effects are not jittering or flickering. Everything just looks super sharp, super stable. Like I'm really impressed by this. Look how good everything looks. Everything just looks fantastic. Is really, really good, right? And we're at like 100 FPS. Now let's just throw some upscaling on there just to show you the difference. I've gone through this on each handheld, so if you want to see more of this, then go check those sections out. I'm not going to go to the extent on this one because I just don't feel like it's needed, right? But anyway, let's just go to FSR 3 and let's go to performance, right? And just see what we're going to get. No upscaling, no frame gen, right? We do have a 144 hertz panel on this, so it's super high, refresh rate. But this has a trick up its sleeve with actual VRR from 30 hertz to 144 hertz, which is mental, which means we won't get any screen tearing. It will just seem super smooth no matter what the frame rate is. I mean, just then when I look this way, I'm going up to like 125 FPS, which is crazy. And this, of course, is with upscaling. But look at those holograms. Look how jittery they are. Look at the text on it. And that's because we're upscaling now at 720p. Well, we're at 800p. Performance mode, right, which is a 50% upscale, so we're at like 400p right here, really. That's what we're playing at. Everything's all a little bit jittery, but if you really want the numbers game and you want to be a really high FPS, well then absolutely run this at 800p with FSR 3 performance, like by all means be my guest. But I personally think it looks too muddy, it looks a bit horrible. Let's just throw on frame gen because I know a lot of you use it, even though I don't personally, but let's just throw that on. So now we've got frame gen enabled. Let's back out. And now we're at we're maxed out the panel. We're at 144 hertz. It won't surprise me if we start getting like screen tearing because it's just capped the game at 144 hertz. That's cool. So it's actually not allowing it to go past the VRR window. Really, really nice. But we're now maxed out 144 FPS. But it's a bit more slow and clunky because of the latency introduced by frame gen. And look at those holograms. Like they just don't look very good at all. Everything's just a little bit meh. Like I personally would turn this off and run this at 800p without any upscaling, right? So let's just turn that off, turn off frame gen, right? Go back. And now look how clear that is. Look how crystal clear and sharp that image is. Look at those holograms. If I move around, like the text on it is totally legible. The transparency effect is no longer flickering. Everything just looks freaking amazing. And we're still nearly at 100 FPS just by running this at 800p on all low. And look how good everything looks. Like the texture quality and stuff still is really good, even though this is absolutely as low as you can possibly go. Let's just jump into an actual area of where you're going to play this game, right? So now we're in the actual game, still the same frame rate as that hub area. A little bit lower, we're at like 85 now, but still looks amazing. Really, really good. Honestly, this game looks freaking fantastic. What Capcom have done with the re-engine is just phenomenal. It's so well optimized. The image quality, the performance and everything, especially on these handhelds. This is a brand new game that literally just came out today, right? And I'm getting 100 FPS on a freaking handheld. It is mad. Absolutely mad. Even in combat, look, I'm still at what's that? Whoa, 90 FPS or whatever. He's going to kill me. There we go. I'm going to get a big boy drop down now. I'm just going to go and try and kill him. Oh, wow. So you can see here, we're still at almost 100 FPS, which is just mental. There we go. And look how good the image quality is. It really, really is good. Like, I can't stress how good this game looks and is. It's so good. But obviously you're getting like 100 FPS here, raster performance at 720p. You can also bump stuff up. Right, so now I have just messed with some settings, right? I've just increased loads of stuff. So let me just go through what I've done. I'm still at 800p. This is raster performance, no upscaling, no frame gen. It's 100% image quality, right? But yeah, I have to go to the like main menu to be able to change these, right? So that's why they're grayed out. But I've gone hair quality low, texture quality high. I've got ×8 on the filtering. I've got mesh quality high, shadow lowest, cache on, contact shadows on. I've got effects quality on medium. I've got FXAA and TAA there on anti-aliasing. I've got SSAO on. I've got volumetric lighting on low or lowest. Right, and then I've got bloom, screen space reflections on. I've not done subsurface scattering or motion blur. I've kept them off, and that's basically it. But look how good this looks now. Like, that looks incredible, and we're still at like mid to high 60s, right? So we're at like 65 to 70 FPS here, and now it looks like a totally different game. Like, it looks really good. Like, it looks so good now. Like, this looks like a console version of the game just from changing some of those settings. Like, it really looks crazy. Let's jump into the actual area again where we'll be like playing the game. And again, we're still at like high 70s, 70 FPS there. Whoa! Oh, I just got absolutely annihilated there. But whoa, the frame rate again is still in the 70s, and this is rasterized performance, right? There's no upscaling here whatsoever, so the image quality is so sharp. Even though I'm only at 800p, like, it looks really good. It looks really, really good, and the frame rate is super high. Like, it's really, really high. Let's just kill some dudes. So we're still in the like 70 FPS mark. Let's go here because I'm gonna get the big guy drop down. Woo! There we go. So there we go. Just, I'm really blown away, by how well this game runs from the efforts of Capcom and the re-engine for a day one release. Running and looking this good on these handhelds, it just shouldn't be possible, you know. It really shouldn't. It blows my freaking mind, especially on the Legion Go 2 here running SteamOS with that added RAM so I can pump the texture quality up and everything. It just looks so good. I really think that this could be tweaked even further. I've only just quickly gone through those settings. I reckon you could even get ray tracing running on this, and maybe I'll test it out after this video. But yeah, really, really good. I don't think you should be using any upscaling. I think you should just be choosing a lower resolution and sticking to that rather than actually upscaling, because you lose so much detail, clarity, you get horrible fizzling and stuff, whereas this is just such a stable image. It looks incredible, and the frame rate is still amazing. Highly recommend that you check this game out. So there we have it. Will Pragmata run on these handhelds? Abso-freaking-lutely, you can run this game raster performance with zero upscaling, zero frame gen, and still get insane FPS. Even on the lowest of low settings, it looks incredible. But if you've got one of the big dogs like the Legion Go 2 or the Xbox Ally X, you can pump those textures up, especially on the Legion Go 2 with the 32 gig of RAM. If you assign 16 gig to VRAM, you can really get some good FPS numbers and good textures and everything going here. But even on the older device, this runs incredible. Even on the Xbox Ally, that one even runs raster performance at 720p and looks really good at a decent frame rate. I'm blown away by Capcom and the re-engine. This game is incredible. This is like my most hyped game other than Resident Evil Requiem, right, 9. And so far, from the short amount of time I've been playing it, like probably about an hour in or so or less, right? It's just so fun. Such a good game. I'm so happy that it runs so well on these handhelds. This is a brand new release, and you don't even need to use upscaling or frame gen to get impeccable image quality and frame rate on these handhelds. I am so happy about this. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you get to chat to us over on our private Discord. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.